Have you ever been stuck on a decision where the right answer just feels impossible to find? Well, today we're not going to hand you a rule book. We're actually going to build a toolkit together. These are some really practical, powerful methods for cutting through the noise of any ethical problem so you can make decisions with real confidence. So let's dive in.
So let's kick things off with a classic dilemma. A supplier offers you something nice, something of value. Is it a genuine gift, a friendly gesture, or is it a bribe? The line between those two can get surprisingly blurry, and that's exactly where things get sticky. So picture this. Tickets to a huge game, and they're just sitting on the table. Company policy's kind of vague about it, and you've got a solid relationship with this supplier. What do? This is the kind of messy situation where a gut feeling just doesn't cut it. You need a process.
Okay, so first, let's really unpack this gift versus bribe problem. We're going to use it to build the very first and maybe the most foundational tool in our new ethical toolkit.
Look, the goal here isn't for you to memorize a bunch of rules. It's about developing a whole new way of thinking. It's about building a framework that helps you ask smarter questions, and that's what turns a tangled mess into a clear path forward. So here it is. This is that foundational tool. It turns out pretty much every ethical dilemma, from game tickets all the way up to global policy, can be broken down into 3 distinct types of issues. If you can master these, you are already halfway to a solution.
And here they are: factual, conceptual, and moral issues. Now listen, the order here is absolutely critical. You just can't debate what to do until you all agree on the facts and what you're actually talking about. This sequence is what transforms chaos into a clear, manageable analysis.
First up, factual issues. Now, this sounds simple, right? But this is where most arguments get completely stuck. The key question is, what do we actually know for sure? You have to separate the solid facts from assumptions. It's the essential first step, because honestly, many disagreements aren't even about morals. They're about a dispute over the facts themselves.
Think about something as big as the climate change debate. While there's a broad consensus that it's happening, the exact impact of, say, 1 ton of CO2 can be a source of factual disagreement. We have to get as clear as we can on those facts before we can ever have a meaningful ethical discussion about what to do next.
Okay, so once the facts are on the table, we hit what are called conceptual issues. This is all about definitions. We have to agree on what the key terms even mean. Like, what does safe really mean for a new product? What counts as confidential information? Or, to go back to our tickets, what is the definition of a bribe, right? The fact is, we were offered tickets. That's clear. But the conceptual question is the real heart of the problem here. At what point does a gift cross the line and become a bribe? Is it about the value, the timing, the intent? Defining that concept is everything. And only after you've handled the facts and the concepts do you finally arrive at the moral issue. This is the action step. Okay, so what do we do? Based on everything we've just clarified, which moral principle should guide our decision?
And this really shows the power of the framework. If you've done the work and decided that, yes, these tickets fit your definition of a bribe, well, the moral decision becomes pretty simple, doesn't it? The principle is clear. You don't accept bribes. See? The hard work wasn't in that final choice. It was in the analysis that got you there.
But what happens when the concepts themselves are fuzzy? For those really messy gray areas, we're going to need another tool. It's called line drawing, and it's designed to bring clarity when there's no easy yes or no answer. So here's how it works. You basically create a spectrum. On one end, you put a positive paradigm, something that is unambiguously good, like a town's water supply being perfectly clean and safe. Then, on the other end, a negative paradigm, something clearly wrong, like knowingly dumping toxic waste. These are your moral anchors. Okay, so here's our specific problem. A company wants to dispose of waste at 5 parts per million. Now that's under the legal limit, but it's not 0. So where does it fall on our line? Is it closer to the positive end of perfectly clean water, or does it start creeping uncomfortably close to the negative end of toxic dumping? This technique forces you to visually map out that gray area so you can make a more conscious decision.
All right, for our final tool, we're going to shift from analyzing the present to mapping out the future. It's called flow charting, and it is a super powerful way to visualize the chain of consequences that could follow any important decision you make. Now, the key here isn't just to map out the most likely path. As the source material puts it, you have to be creative in determining possible outcomes. A really good flowchart forces you to explore all those different what-if scenarios, the good and the bad.
To really see the life or death stakes of this, just consider the Bhopal disaster. We can actually use a flowchart to trace the chain of what seemed like small decisions about safety and maintenance that ultimately led to an unimaginable catastrophe.
So, imagine you're at this critical decision point. A key safety system needs maintenance, but the highly toxic tank it's designed to protect is currently full. This is a node, a fork in the road on your decision-making flowchart. What are the potential paths forward from here? And here are the two branches. Path A, you wait. What's the consequence? A simple delay. Path B, you proceed anyway. The consequence? A catastrophic risk. I mean, laying it out this clearly makes the choice undeniable, right? You can literally see the direct path from one small decision to a potential disaster. All right, let's pull all this together and do a quick recap of the toolkit we've just built. These are 3 really powerful methods you can now use to tackle any ethical problem that comes your way. Because remember, the ultimate goal isn't to somehow find a magic answer for every problem. It's to build a better process for finding those answers yourself. By using a structured approach like this, you upgrade the quality of your own ethical reasoning, and that lets you face any challenge with a whole lot more confidence.
So here it is, your new toolkit. First, the 3-issue framework to bring order to any messy problem. Second, line drawing to help you find your position in all those gray areas. And third, flowcharting to map out the consequences of your choices. 3 powerful tools for clearer thinking.
So we'll leave you with this question. Think about a complex problem in your own life, maybe at work, maybe at home. Now that you're armed with this new toolkit, how will you see it differently? What new questions can you ask to find a clearer path forward? Thanks for watching.